Hey guys, welcome back to the Coffin Nail. My name's Lightbreaker, and today I have the pleasure of talking to Shaun Glass on Repentance. Shaun, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me on this lovely afternoon in Illinois.
Well, it's a lovely afternoon here in Berlin too. I'm really excited to get you on the show. I talked to you before we started recording about how one of the first songs I heard in my first Metal Hammer CD was Redefined by Soil. But more recently, on the very first episode of the Coffin Nail, our album of the week was God for a Day by your current band Repentance.
Cool, thank you.
Fucking awesome album. So the first thing that stood out to me about it was, though, it's quite short. I mean, it hits hard and there's no wasted space. I wanted to ask, was that always your plan going into writing and recording it, to make something brief and to the point?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I look back at like classic albums by bands like, Black Sabbath and Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules, or even AC/DC and Kiss, how they always had like 7 or 8 killer songs, and you enjoyed it as a listener and constantly went back to it.
Yeah.
Whereas I think later on in music, especially when the CDs came out, I think some of the, especially I noticed it with the grunge era, a lot of the bands were cramming like 15 and 16 songs on the record. And there was a lot of filler sometimes, and you'd find your favorite tracks and then sometimes just listen through or skip or whatever. And I didn't want that, and I thought that when I started my new band, I wanted to make sure that this album has the intensity, of stuff like Slayer, Rain and Blood and Hell Awaits, how they were really short and to the point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was one of my goals when I started working on the music for this album. And then once I knew that we had X amount of songs, I felt that it was at a really perfect spot to just, all right, this is a cool first taste of what my new project's going to be,
Yeah. And with the songwriting as well, I mean, for those who don't know, Repentance is made up of basically a supergroup. I mean, you got Robbie from Stuck Mojo, Mike was with you in Dirge Within, all these bands like this. How do you guys come about with songwriting? Is it everyone has their own take, or is it a collaborative experience?
Well, I'll twist that a little bit. For this album, those people were involved, and they're not going to be in the future of Repentance.
Right.
It was more of a project at first, and then it got more and more busy, and the other people were in other bands who couldn't commit to being full-time because they're in so many groups and everyone lives so far away. So kind of started, falling apart as I was writing for the new record. And I wish those guys the best, but it was time for me to, focus on what's best. But the majority of the music for the record was written by me and the other guitarist that was in the band on the recording of the album, Marcus. He wrote one song, the closing track called Deliverance.
Oh, yeah.
So it was pretty cool. Yeah, it was pretty cool, to hear his take on what the band should sound like for one song, which was nice, But it was time for me, when I started writing the new stuff, to really focus. And I'm almost done writing the new album already. And it's really cool. But I think that I just needed to be around people that are a little more dedicated and can be involved on a more professional level.
Yeah. Well, you've hit a couple of points there that I want to ask you about later. But since you're talking about writing the new album, are you working on just the music, or are you writing lyrics as well?
Right now, not really writing lyrics. It's not my thing. I think that a singer should write what they are saying or believing in, and their, lyrics should be personal, right? And I think that's important. But for me, musically, the new stuff I feel it's a little more mature. It's a little more melodic, but it's still heavy and aggressive, and has my trademark riffing, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think that it's going to be really cool when people hear the new stuff. I don't know if the EP is going to come out first or if a single is going to drop first, but it's all in the midst of being sorted out right now. But writing has been going amazing, and started in the first of the year. And I really think that the new songs are just so catchy, but so heavy and groovy, that I think if people like the first record, I think they're going to like the new stuff.
Yeah, sure. Well, like the first record seemed to me like a sort of a statement of where modern metal music is at. Like it reminded me in some places of like Lamb of God, and some places the Trivium. It seemed to have a lot of these different aspects. And if an alien came to Earth now and was like, what's metal like these days? I'm like, well, listen to God for a Day. That's a good overview. Is that an attitude consciously? And is that the same sort of sound we can expect on the new stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird, man. I mean, I listen to current music, so I do listen to stuff like Architects. I do listen to stuff like, like Trivium and obviously modern metal. And then I always do listen to my classics, Sabbath and, Kiss and Motorhead. So I think that the old school stuff is in my DNA from growing up, right? To write catchy hooks and song structures will always be, relevant in the sound of Repentance. But I think that I want to also have a modern sound and modern production and modern tones and, just style I feel should be current. And I think that's just what I write, and it sounds current. I listen to current metal, so I think that probably helps me stay relevant and keep, a fresh sound without trying to sound exactly like, Motorhead,
Yeah.
So, but I think, the new stuff is, it's really heavy for sure. And then there's some stuff that's definitely got really big melodies, obviously I love stuff like Arch Enemy and, tasty guitar melodies and stuff like that. So
the lead melodies that Michael Amott can put over a heavy riff are just amazing. And kind of like you guys as well, when the singer is not singing a melody, but screaming and a melodic guitar line fills in the gap. Yeah, it's awesome, man.
Yeah. Definitely. That's something that, I always like to have that element in my songs. And I think that the new stuff I'm writing is even more so a little bit, but it's still brutal.
Yeah, nice. Since you mentioned it, who are you listening to recently?
Let me pull up my phone as a reference. I'll cheat.
I got to be perfectly honest. I think I've seen on your Facebook or Instagram stories that you're listening to the new Architects album, and I'm not sure who isn't at the moment, but
yeah, I will pull it up right now. Let me tell you what I've been listening to. Obviously, with the loss of LG yesterday from Entombed.
Yeah, of course.
Today I definitely was cranking To Ride, Shoot, Straight, and Speak the Truth a lot. And then I like the new Silosis single and album a lot.
Yeah.
And man, I love the new Architects. Definitely, I think that's really killer.
Yeah.
New Dark Tranquility.
Oh, I haven't heard that yet.
Yeah, it's really good. The new Dark Tranquility.
Sick.
And the latest Cataclysm. I really like that a lot.
Yeah, I heard one song from that. It was very impressive.
Totally. And then for like brutal stuff, there's a Swedish band called Lick, L-I-K.
Yes, they're fucking awesome. I discovered them last month.
Yeah, their new album is awesome.
Yeah, so they're so good.
Check it out. Yeah, I dig that a lot. And then my bros from in the backyard in my neighborhood, they're called Product of Hate. They just dropped a new album.
Oh, cool. Gotta check it out.
And let me see what it's called. I will cheat and look on my Spotify playlist to see if it's on there.
Yeah, we'll fix it in post. It'll sound like you
it's
just...
the album. Yeah, their album, Product of Hate, their new album's called You Brought This War. It's really good.
That sounds metal as fuck. It sounds like hardcore.
So, kinda. So, but I think that, yeah, I mean, I definitely like to still hear what's out there. And obviously Architects is, they're not new and they're pretty damn popular nowadays. Yeah. But I think that, always having an open mind and an open air is important. And I think that people that get stuck and listen to the same style or same bands always, it's like, you got to venture out, man, and open your ears. As much as it's all in the same food group, it's all metal.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's different styles.
For sure. And you've played in such a variety of bands over the years, from Syndrome through Soil, Church of the End of Bloodline, all the way to Repentance. But each one of them is fairly clearly defined as a different sort of subgenre. All of it's metal, but they're all quite different. Do you feel like you have to focus one style to one project, or that if you wanted to play a different style of metal, you would start something new?
Oh, say that again. If I what?
like if you wanted to
Sorry.
play a different style of metal than what Repentance are currently doing, would you feel that that would have to be a separate project, the way that all of these separate bands have very distinct sound?
Pretty much, I would agree.
Mhm.
Especially from Repentance to Bloodline.
Right.
When Travis was singing Bloodline, it was really more melodic. I'd say
Mhm.
majority, but it had it had its heavy moments. We had some aggressive songs on the Bloodline album, but I think for Repentance, with the new singer, things are heavy still, but there will be some more melodies involved, but
Mhm.
not stray too far away from the whole initial concept of when I formed the band.
Right. And have you announced the new singer or any of the new members yet?
Not yet, not yet, not yet.
All right, so
Got
that's
rehearsal tonight though, but
awesome.
I can't.
But
Yeah,
that
I can't.
info's still under wraps, yeah?
Yeah, it's under the wraps just to make sure that everything is flowing and that the everyone's on the right path, and
Yeah.
getting things organized. But the new songs that are coming to life are really, really awesome. I'm stoked on them. So
Yeah, I'm really
I
excited
think
to hear it.
yeah, I think it's a nice progression. But I
Mhm.
think that people like the first record will be pretty into this, or anybody that listened to Dirge Within and obviously some of my past stuff. I think that they'll be into what this new stuff is sounding like.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of your former bands, and you mentioned as well earlier about issues of commitment and dedication, things like this. I know that those are core tenets for you.
Yes.
And
Very much.
basically, I could phrase this a million ways, but the simplest way is you've been playing metal music since the 80s, but you've always had this professional attitude. How has that changed over time? Or what's the different form nowadays of being quote unquote professional as opposed to 10, 20, 30 years ago?
It hasn't changed for me.
Okay.
I think that I guess I'm a little more acceptive of other people are in other projects and other people have their personal lives, family. I have a 8-year-old son, so I understand that when someone's like, "Hey, man, my child is sick," or there's some family issue. Obviously, I'm very understanding upon that situation. But and the older we get, that becomes more of a reality, right?
Mhm.
But I think that I don't want to be in a band that someone's like, "Yeah, man, just gonna phone it in and not rehearse, and don't worry about it. I can just show up and sing and not rehearse for 3 months because they're busy in their personal life." And I'm not into that. I don't want that. I think that a band has to be around each other and be a band. I mean, it's very important. But I think that for me, I want people that are professional and dedicated and into what I'm writing. And that's the whole initial thing. Like, if I reach out to you as a musician and say, "Hey, I'm interested, you want to be part of my project or world or whatever musically," then I think that person should understand that I started this. It's not like McDonald's didn't call you to come to the job, right?
Yeah,
you went to
100%.
McDonald's to get the job.
Mm.
And I think that some people just have to understand that if they want to be in a band, with me after all these years, that I do things professionally and I want things to be ran professionally and also to be talented musicians. I mean, if you don't practice your instrument or don't really go out to see other bands, real bands and network and socialize, then like you're not really in this for the right thing, right?
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
You have to be a fan at the end of the day too. Like, everybody from Yngwie Malmsteen to Corey Taylor, they still listen to metal and they still listen to the stuff that they grew up on, and they still listen to, stuff. It's not like all of a sudden like, "Hey, I'm in a metal band, all I'm going to listen to is jazz."
Yeah.
I don't like metal anymore because I like jazz. It's like, okay, pal, like, why are you in this band?
Yeah.
So I think that, that just people need to be dedicated to their art and be serious. And those are the people that I like to be associated with. I mean, I know nowadays more than ever, people are in other, multiple bands. It seems more common than ever. And I understand that probably maybe from financial reasons or artistic reasons, whatever it is. But me, I've never been that guy. I never wanted to be in 10 fucking bands, man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get the gist of it. And obviously, as a songwriter myself, I feel that I have enough of a window artistically to open and show what I'm all about in my songs,
Right.
So,
Well, that's a really nice segue to my next question, which is
all right, here we
looking
go.
at all of these bands from Syndrome to Soil to Jersey and blah, 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 all the way to Repentance. If there was going to be a best-of compilation of Shaun Glass's career,
oh my Lord.
I'm not asking you to give me a full track listing, but what songs would be essential to you?
There's the obvious no-brainer for everyone. Because
Yeah,
most people,
I think I know what that's going to be.
Yeah, there's an obvious no-brainer that people definitely always associate with me because I, was the main writer in the song was Soil Halo.
Yeah.
When I wrote that first riff, came to practice, it was just me and the drummer in the room that day writing Halo, actually, before everyone else got there. And I was like, dude, I got this riff. It's in my head. Jumped out of my car, pulled up to our jam room and just started rocking the riff with the drummer, Tom. And then everybody started showing up and things just started morphing musically on that song, before the vocals and something like that. But yeah, Soil Halo, I would say, oh man, you want me to name all the songs? Holy cow.
No, all just right. Like what are the essential ones to you?
I'd say Soil Halo. There's a couple Broken Hope songs that I'm really proud of. There's one on the Omena Disease album called Womb of Horror. Womb, WOMB. Yeah. That song I'm really proud of that I wrote with Broken Hope. That's one of the heaviest death metal songs for Broken Hope when I was part of the project. That I'm really proud of writing that song. Syndrome. I would say my favorite Syndrome song is Astral Projection, which is out on the Resurrection compilation CD of both EPs. That was the second era of Syndrome because there's like the first and the second. It's different lineups. But Astral Projection is like one of my favorite Syndrome songs. And then for Dirge Within, I would have to say the first song I wrote, obviously because deep to my heart, is Forever the Martyr.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, that's one that I really thought was like kind of like the blueprint for Dirge when we started. Like I wanted to make sure it was really groovy, real like Pantera Slayer-y, and then had like that big like hooky melodic chorus like a Esley Dine or something. And then for Repentance, I would probably say Only the Damned Die Young. I think I think that's one of my favorite songs for the album. That and Enter the Gallows, probably. Those are like the two.
Enter the Gallows, right.
Yeah, I think Damned and Gallows are like the two best Repentance songs so far. And then, hold on, let me think. Oh, for the Bloodline, I would put Divided. That is probably my favorite Bloodline song. I remember when me and Chuck, the other guitarist, wrote it in his closet of his bedroom studio. And I came to his pad with the riff, like the bulk of the riff. And then like we finished writing that song, like musically, like I think in like 1 hour, that song was done. Like, and then we sent the demos to Travis and the drummer Frank, and we're like, this song's really for demo pre-production. We're like, it's there. And they were all just, wow, you guys wrote this all tonight. We're like, it was seriously done, like so quick. And then for, I can't think of any other projects. I think we're out.
I think those are the big names.
I think we're good.
But like with the way you described like Divided there by Bloodlines and Halo, it sounds like you come in with the riff and then an hour later you've got a whole song. Is that basically
it happens. It happens for me a lot. Even with the new demos that I was doing, I would go to my friend's studio that I'm working with, and he's also plays in a metal band that is pretty known, but they've been on hiatus for a while. My buddy Alex, he was in a band called Lazarus AD.
I know that name.
He had 2 albums on Metal Blade.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah.
But he was the rhythm guitarist in the band. So he lives near me, and we've been friends for like 15 years. So he's got a home studio that I've been demoing at. And it's basically been like me combing through my phone of my voice messages. I have like almost close to 300 riffs on my phone. Shit. So hopefully I'm not Kirk Hammett and lose it. But
I was just going to say, you got to back that shit up in the cloud, man.
Yeah. So I've been going there, and I say, hey, I comb through my phone and say, all right, let's start with this. Yeah. And the magic's there, man. So it's, it all starts with the riff, obviously. That was my kid jumping in here, but he just tried to scare me. You're funny, Maddox. So anyway, but he's on a break from school, everybody. So
yeah, clearly it's
as real as it gets. Yeah, but
Perfect.
it all starts with the riff for me, and
Mhm.
it just comes up with me starting a riff, and then I can go from there. Usually, once I sit down and start playing the riff, everything just comes out, man.
Yeah.
Usually, some of my best songs have been written like on the spot.
Right.
So it's just like Only the Damned. Like I think I had the riffs to that song before I got to practice and jam with them, and then everything just came out and unfolded.
Right.
Real simple and basic.
Well, you were saying earlier about how lyricists, vocalists need to have their own thing that which they mean.
Yeah.
And like
Every
if your
band
job
I've
is to play
been in-
guitar, you got to start with the riff.
Yeah.
Where else are you going to start, man?
Yeah. Every band I've been in is pretty much the singer writes their own lyrics. And I think that's important because they have to believe what they're saying. So
For sure.
for me, it's that's not my turf, man. That's not my territory. I mean, I always will have input if I'm not really feeling something, and they have a thick skin to understand some constructive criticism.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that a singer's got to write their own lyrics and believe what they're saying. And obviously, with a new singer, they have to be able to sing, past stuff too, and sound proper, which is really important.
I mean, you guys had to change singers with Soil, so I'm pretty sure that would have been a big part of pass.
Obviously, AJ had to learn Halo, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to sing this song for every night for a while." And I don't know if he was too excited about that because we already started writing new stuff. But I mean, you have to be able to sing stuff off Scars and Redefined to even get past, because like, what if, hypothetically, if we just put out True Self, the first album with AJ, and then all of a sudden didn't play anything off the first two records, there'd be a lot of people fans.
Yeah.
Like you can't go pay for a ticket to go see a band, then all of a sudden they completely ignore past records because it was a different singer, right? That wouldn't work.
I mean, look, if I was making my dream Metallica set list, it probably wouldn't include Enter Sandman. But if I went to see them and they didn't play Enter Sandman, I'd still feel cheated.
I would skip Sandman and Seek and Destroy for the rest of my life seeing them.
I would too, but if it's your first time seeing them and they don't play it, it's like Lemmy said, every time someone goes to see you, it's their first time, someone in the crowd, it's their first time seeing you, and that's why they always play Ace of Spades.
Oh, totally.
So,
yeah. But that song is such a staple that you can't get away from that.
Yeah, for sure.
Like Ace of Spades has to close the gig. Same with Soil. I mean, I think 99% of our career from 2001, we always close with Halo.
So. Yeah. No doubt. What else can I do?
Yeah.
Bringing it back to Repentance, though, we have something new coming soon. Is it going to be an album, an EP? What are we looking at?
Probably a single will be coming first, and then either a full album or an EP, and then singles after it.
Okay.
I'm definitely a firm believer of living in the now and adapt or die. I mean, I don't think metal's different than pop, right? I definitely will say that, but I don't think people have the attention span of listening to 10 songs every day in a row by your band. I think that if you give them new material here and there and spread it out, sprinkle a little bit of metal here every few months to keep the listener excited, and quality songs, like not be putting out filler. As long as the songs are killer, you put out a couple songs here and there. I think that's important. I don't know if another 9-song album will follow yet, but maybe. But at first, I want people to hear the new lineup, and then take it from there. But I think that the songs are so strong. And I'm doing some solos in a couple songs too, which is the first.
That's funny. That's something in my notes that I didn't ask you about was, you're such a veteran. It's certainly the longest working member of the first iteration of Repentance, but yet you don't generally play lead. What's that about? What's the thinking behind that?
I can play leads, but they're not, like, in my opinion, up to the standard of what I like for solos.
Okay.
But I can play leads. But I'm a fan more of like the Slayer Morbid Angel solos, which some people don't like. I like
there's a time and a place for it,
Yeah. I don't think I need it in every Repentance song, but there's a couple songs on the new tracks where I am doing some more aggressive, mean aggro, pissed off metal solos. Nice. And I think that it calls for that. So people on this new stuff will hear a couple solos by me. And obviously on the album, like the whole intro Repentance, that's all me on guitar doing the clean and the melodies. Yeah. So that was all me. I wrote that entire piece to intro the record. So that kind of shows a little bit of my, I guess, versatility.
Yeah.
But
No, I was really impressed by that intro riff, because like I find just the idea of an intro riff, like, or like an intro song, like you really got to deliver, because there's been some bands or some albums where it's been just a bit too much sort of prestige that they're putting on the song to follow. But down, 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 like it's fucking awesome, man. I love it.
Yeah, I wrote that in the studio. Like it just, nobody was there. It was me and the engineer Chuck Masak that worked on the album with me, and I just said, "Hey, we need an intro, man. Like, I'm an intro guy. I like getting set up for the movie. You're sit in your seat and get your popcorn ready, right? You know, get the stereo set right. You're in your car, the right volume, and I think it's kind of like a vibe, you know." And when I came up with the melody in the studio, everything just fell into place. I mean, I seriously wrote that melody and the whole intro in like 2 hours, if that.
Right.
And then I just started tracking the melody over it, kind of like I was thinking, all right, let's go full on like, you know, Euro metal vibe, you know, for a tasty melody over the clean guitar. So I was like, all right, let's have Slayer and Arch Enemy have a kid, right?
I can hear that combo, yeah.
So it's kind of going for that, like, you know, like the haunting dark melody of something Hanneman would have wrote, and then like the tasty Euro metal of something like Michael Amott would have wrote. Kind of fused together, right? Which I do like Slayer and Arch Enemy. I can't deny that.
Yeah, it shows, and in the best of ways, man. Shit, I've been a musician my whole life. You sound like the luckiest, most serendipitous songwriter I've ever talked to. Like, show up with a good riff and then just end up with a fucking massive tune. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's what it's about. But I think that there's a couple new songs that are really, really heavy. So
awesome. Well, I'm super excited to hear it. I'm sure everyone else is too. For those who haven't heard already, God for a Day came out in September. One last question on God for a Day. Were you tempted to delay the release because of COVID and not being able to tour it?
Yes and no. The record company that we did the record with, Artist War, you know, he was like really flexible and cool. He's like, hey, you know, let's be real. You're not going to be able to tour right now. And do you want to hold off? And I was like, we set up this album. We got everything done. The artwork was done. You know, we're ready to go. The mixes are done. Everything's ready to get served to the people. The meal's ready. And I thought that if we would have waited and sat on it, I don't think people would have been as excited. I think it would have been like, oh my God, these guys are taking forever to put a record out after putting demos and EPs out. Because we put some demo singles out of the tracks early on, which were pretty good. They were a little raw in some ways, especially, you know, the drums weren't real. They were all programmed on the demos because the original drummer couldn't play. So that's why he's gone. But the original drummer couldn't play in the studio, so we had to program the drums on the demos. And I was like, nah, you know, once we get the album, let's get a real drummer to play the songs. And I think that, you know, delaying it probably would have taken some momentum away from the project. But, you know, here I am, you know, putting a new version of Repentance together. So maybe I should have waited. I don't know.
No, not at all. I think it's great to have this amount of output. And at the end of it, like I said at the start of the interview, it's a short album and every song is unskippable. So if you have that and a little bit more, you're ready for a headline set, bro.
There you go.
Perfect.
I think we're on the same page, bro. I'm
loving it.
Yeah.
Repentance is the band. God for a Day.
Yeah, I think less is more sometimes, right?
For sure. I mean, like you mentioned Slayer earlier, like Rain of Blood is 32 minutes, something like that.
Yeah. I think it's 28 minutes, actually.
Yeah, and there's nothing to skip. And like, there's nothing I have ever skipped on God for a Day.
Cool. So, I'm glad you like every track. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Perfect.
I think it's a good taste of what's to come. But I'm really proud of the record, and it was, you know, everyone involved in it did a great job, and you know, it's a heavy album for sure.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it would be weird for it to be somebody's gateway album into metal, but quality's there.
That's cool, man. I think God for a Day's a well-rounded, nice, quick shot to the lungs.
Yeah, absolutely. Shaun Glass, the man, the myth, the legend, the guitar player. Repentance is the band, and God for a Day came out last September on Artist War Records. Go listen to it now. And it seems like we're going to have something new coming out very soon. So, Shaun, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to me today.
Thanks for having me on the Coffin Nail.
Cheers, bro. You take it easy, okay?
Have a great day.
Thanks, man. You too.
Huddle up your butt.
Hey, guys, thanks very much for watching. It's YouTube. You know the drill. Be sure to like and subscribe to get a notification about the next interview, because you never know who it might be. I don't know who it's going to be. Could be Scott Stapp. Could be someone good. But like and subscribe, and there'll be a new interview every second week. Better still, you can listen to the Coffin Nail live on Keith FM. That's KEITHFEM.com. 6 p.m. every second Friday. And also, you can listen back to full episodes on mixcloud.com/Lightbreaker. And I'll chat to you guys again soon. Have a good one.